A very, very big welcome to #SecureTheGrad registration webinar. My name is Ivodia Mohanyane, and I will be your host for today. Look, I know people say it's too late to say Happy New Year, but from our side, a happy New Year. We hope you've started the year on some good energy where you are. And don't let the frustration of registration deter you from the fact that it's a happy new year. We're going to keep the good spirits of 2025. Someone said, walk in slowly, don't touch anything. Just don't move. We want to make sure that we do not mess up anything in 2025. And I'm here to say to you, don't worry, touch something, say something, don't be silent, because STG's got you this year. So as you know us, we want to make sure that as you start the 2025 academic year, that you do not start off confused. We want to make sure that as you register, you've got all the necessary information. Get up and make sure that you have the best start to your 2025 year. With us, we've got exciting people, but these are also people that you know or that you might not know. But if you're looking for people who will tell you what is good in terms of registration and where you need to go, what you need not do, and what you need to do, you're exactly in the right place. Just before we go on, there's a few house rules that we want to talk about to get our webinar started. Remember, in order for us to have a smooth and effective webinar, your microphone as well as your camera will be disabled as part of the audience, and it will be enabled during our Q&A segment. I want to encourage you to join the webinar if not already using your name and surname, if you are a UFS student. Alternatively, sign out and sign back in to the meeting. And remember, if you sign back in using your particulars, you are eligible to be chosen as one of our winners at the end of the webinar. Remember, if you participate, if you engage with us, you can win a few lucky prizes on our webinar later today. So those of you who are part of the tribe, you know the drill. One thing that we also want to highlight is while our speakers are engaging or they're sharing information, you are more than welcome to use our chat function to ask your questions, to comment on what the speakers are saying. And during the Q&A segment, we'll pick up your questions, or while we're speaking, the questions will be answered by our panel members. There will also be polls that pop up regularly on your screen. Please do participate. We want to hear what you have to say, whether you agree with us, whether you're a bit unsure today, or whether you know the answer. So it's no trick question. What you'll do is the quiz will pop up. You select the answer that best represents you, and then you click on the submit button. It will then disappear. Already thanking you in advance for participating in our polls. Now, before I introduce our speakers, I want to encourage you, bring a bit of energy today. It's a bit cloudy in Bloemfontein this afternoon, rather. So let us know how you're feeling in the chat. Are you nervous? Are you frustrated? Are you good? Are you looking forward to the webinar? We'd like to see how you are coping this afternoon. So we've got a very important announcement that we'd like to make before we introduce our speakers to you, and that is regarding a service indicator for NBT. So if you see on your academic data summary a service indicator for NBT, this is what it means. So might say, as a senior student, you might have an NBT algorithm service indicator. Remember, if you've already registered, you've done the EAL module, so it might be EALN 1508. If you've already registered and passed this module, you are not obligated to register again. But if you have not registered the EAL modules in the past or in your first year, you've already failed the module, it's very important that you register for the module. Something very important to note is that the module code has changed. The modules will no longer be EALN with the respective faculty codes. The new code is CALN for natural science students, 1508. CALH 1508 for humanities and nursing. For the EMS students, your code will be CALE 1508, for law CALL 1508, and for theology and religion CALR 1508. Remember to make the right choice and make the right decision. Don't listen to your friend. Listen to what we have to say. Make sure that on your last year of registration before you cross Kalihiman, you don't have to repeat this module. So very important announcement for our senior students to take note of. With that being said, ladies and gents, let's jump into the crux of our webinar. With that, we're going to start off by introducing our guests to you. And these are our speakers. We've got Ninette Aucamp, and she will later introduce herself to say where she's from. We also have the faculty manager, Mr. Awusi, and then Elzmarie Oosthuizen, who's the teaching and learning manager at Natural Sciences. Colleagues, if you can have your cameras on for our audience to see who you are so that they can put a face to those beautiful pictures that they see in front of you. Let us see you a bit. Now there's Elzmarie. I love Elzmarie with her Mickey Mouse ears. Elzmarie, welcome to hashtag Secure the Grad. A quick introduction to our audience. Tell us a little bit who you are, what do you do in the faculty, and if there's anything we need to know about how you love to celebrate Christmas, what is it?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Evodia and the audience. I'm the teaching and learning manager in natural science, and I've got Evodia didn't allow me to come with my giraffe suit, but I've got my Mickey Mouse ears because I want everyone in the audience just to spitz their ears and listen careful. Then they will easily go through the flow of registration this year. What we do in terms of celebrating Christmas, I've got family all over the world, and we have a tradition that from the 1st of December, the Christmas mouses come and visit us every day, bringing a little small present. So we build up with 24 presents until Christmas Day. Thank you.
Absolutely love that announcement. We're looking forward to splitting our ears up and hearing what you have to tell us around how to have a smooth and successful registration in the Faculty of Natural Agricultural Sciences. Now, let us start with another female. Ninette is no stranger to us as hashtag Secure the Grad. Welcome back, Ninette. Please reintroduce yourself to those who might not know who you are.
Thank you so much, Evodia. It's a pleasure to be here again. My name is Ninette Aucamp. I am the CTL Academic Advisor for Natural and Agricultural Sciences on the Bloemfontein campus. And I'm excited to also share some information with the students. A tradition in my family is that we put the tree up on the 1st of December every year, and we take it down on the 1st of January. And Christmas for us is a time of family and too much eating.
Ninette, let's not talk about that. If the pants don't fit, I don't know what we're going to do till the end of January. And Ninette, thank you so much for that introduction. As per usual, we're really looking forward to how the students can navigate registration, making use of the central advising services. Last but not least, the gentleman, what do they say, the thorn among the roses. Mr. Awusi, welcome with us. A quick introduction from your side. And I'm interested to hear, what do you guys do on Christmas? I see Mr. William is not here yet, so let us skip his introduction. We'll get to him as soon as he's back on set. So I know this time of the year, like I said, they said walk in slowly so that you don't have technical glitches. I guess we walked in a little bit too fast and ruffled a couple of feathers. With that being said, Ninette, we're going to, before we jump to you and get the conversation started, our first poll has already kickstarted on your screen. We want to know, have you familiarized yourself with the 2025 UFS registration process as well as the dates? If it's a yes, click on your yes. If it's a no, click on B and just submit your poll. Mine is in. Let us see what you have to say. All right, so Ninette, let's move on to you. So this is a very tricky time in the Central Advising Office. Exciting, I guess, because of the students, but also a bit of a tricky time because the conversations get a little bit real. Can you speak to us a little bit about how different is the registration process this year compared to previous years?
Thank you, Voda. I think the registration process is better. It's different in the sense that it's more efficient for the student. It's easier for the student to navigate through the registration process, and it is more efficient and fast. So everything is at your fingertips, and information is readily available.
Great. So we love efficient, we love smooth, and I guess our students would appreciate the fact that they're not queuing in long queues in the sun. Just in case you don't know, Bloemfontein is very hot at the moment, so I guess some of you might appreciate that. What are typical challenges what typical challenges do students face, particularly with registration? And what channels can they visit or can they make use of during this time in order to resolve some of these challenges that they're experiencing?
Well, Evodia, we know that registration is online this year, and that might leave students feeling that they are completely alone and that they have to do this by themselves. But our registration process, even though the registering part is online, is not fully individualistic and on your own. All the faculties have arrangements on the UFS webpage of when a student can go for academic advice or when a student can go to a particular venue on campus for online assistance to get them registered. So even though our registration process is fully online, there is still a blended element of support that is available. I think the most important resource in this registration process is the very first news article on the main page of the UF webpage. If you open the UFS webpage, the very first, very colorful article says, "Get ready for 2025, your essential guide to registration." If you open that page, and I'll share the link soon, you will find all the registration information there. And there is a list of all the faculties. It's very important for students to realize that all faculties are not following the same processes. Some faculties require students to send an email to a particular person for academic advice should they have an academic hold. Other faculties have scheduled dates, for example, humanities, where there will be academic advisors in very specific venues on campus. Natural sciences have 2 days which they will be available for assistance, but they also have online assistance to register yourself online with help. So it's very, very imperative for students to visit this page and then to click on their faculty link and then go and read what the processes is for their specific faculty. Some use service requests, some use email, some use a face-to-face mode of advising. So it's important that students know that. And I think the other very, very important resource at this moment is your student email account. All faculties have sent letters to both first years and senior students about how to register, when the process is going to take place, which dates they have academic advice, and so forth. So typical challenges that students have is the usual challenges of having an academic hold. So it's important to understand what your academic standing means. If you are green or yellow, you don't require academic advice to register. But if you are orange, you do require academic advice, and that hold would be negative, which means you cannot register without assistance. To understand that, and then of course, if you have a red academic standing, it means that you have appealed recently and you have to go through the appeals process for readmission. So you won't be able to register until you finish that process. So it's to understand Evodia and to know where to find the information. All the information around the other conundrum, which is finances, is also on this UFS page. There's a whole section for tuition fees. All the registration amounts are there, whether you are in residence or whether you are off campus, whether you are a South African or international student, all the amounts are there. So the important thing I want to leave the students with is read. Read before you do, because the resources are there.
Very interesting, and I think very important information, the fact that also faculties do differ and that the information is there. Ninette, some students might, because as you highlighted in the beginning, the process is quite online and the student is very individualistic in this instance, and there might not be anyone helping the student, especially if they are home. Some students, the implication of this is some students might register for the wrong module or realize, ooh, I shouldn't have taken this module. I rather want to change it. When can students, what are some of the dates that students can add and drop modules?
Okay, so students have already started registering online from the 7th of January. From 27, our first years would also start registering. Registration then closes and finishes on the 7th of February. However, let's say you have registered Evodia and somewhere along the line you decide you don't want biology as a module, you can still make changes until the 14th of February. And on the 14th of February is the last day that students can make changes to their curriculum and their modules. And then another very important date is the 31st of March. That is the last day that a student can drop a module without any cost implications.
Very important to note those dates, especially if you do not want to pay for a module that you are not going to be taking in that particular year. Ninette, what advice would you give a student who wants to change their program? Some might say, in my first year, I was very excited. I took a degree in accounting. I'm a BX student, and I realized, no, I want to change to, let's say, I don't know, economics. I no longer want to do accounting. What would you advise that student to do in this instance?
The first thing, Evodia, is to be calm and know that it's okay. Because many times students think that they can only choose once in their lifetime, while career development is something that starts when you enter the workforce or university and it finishes when you retire. So there's a lot of these kind of decisions that you will still have to make over your lifespan. The next thing is to understand rules around changing. There are rules around how many times you can change as well as when you are allowed to change program. And to really go and look at the general rules regarding that. Now, unfortunately, if a student studied in one faculty last year and they want to move to another faculty, they should have applied to change faculties by the 30th of September of last year. So you do that by applying on the UFS online application. So at the moment, this is something that a student won't be doing for this registration period, but maybe for next year. However, there are circumstances in which a faculty can assist to get you going on this journey. So, for example, you are doing a BSc degree and you would like to branch into a sister degree close to that one next year. Your program director can help you to repackage your curriculum a little bit so that you start taking modules in the new program with the intention of then changing completely next year. However, there are documents that students need to complete and they need to again read on the faculty website. I'm going to use my faculty, Natural and Agricultural Sciences, as an example. They've got a link that they distribute to students where they can actually apply for a change. So the first point of contact, if you are in the decision-making process, you're not sure where you want to change, is a CTL advisor to help you with that career conversation. And once you've made the decision and you know where you want to change to, the second point of contact is your faculty, because they will tell you how the journey is going to work to transitioning to the next. So you will contact the faculty to which you want to change to as well, or the program director or advisor of the program which you want to change to.
Okay, so it's not just as easy as I thought. I just switch around. I'm done with accounting. I'm moving to economics. Ninette, you spoke a bit about consulting an academic advisor, the central advising, or the faculty. What are some of the benefits that consulting an advisor brings for students?
So at Evodia, advising per definition, an advisor is someone that makes a student feel that someone is looking out for them. So an advisor is the person who is connected to the other departments or resources that can help you to get to that resource. General conversations with CTL advisors is there for students' growth and development and decision making to help them really excel in their academics and do as well as they can. And this is a free service, and this is people that care about the students. And then the faculties are there to help you navigate your curriculum, your modules, and your road to graduation. So research has shown that even one contact with an academic advisor already increases your chance of being successful at university. So if you want to be a successful student, why not stay in tune with your academic advisor and make sure that you are on track on a regular basis?
So, academic advising is free at the University of the Free State while you are a registered student. So, as Ninette said, that one encounter with an advisor already puts you ahead. Ninette, as we wrap up conversation for you with you for now, I want to ask, how can students get in touch, particularly with the central advising team?
So for the central advising team, we've got a general central inbox which they can use. Of course, if you know your central advisor is, you can email them directly. But if you're not sure, you can email advising@ufs.ac.za. Or you can phone the call center 9111, so 401-9111, and they can then assist you with contact details of your CTL advisor as well.
Ninette, thank you so much for that information. It's very important that students do take notes. Remember, Ninette is still in the webinar. So if you have a question directed at Ninette, she will be taking some of the questions in the chat. Alternatively, you can wait for our Q&A segment. The second poll is just up right now on your screen, and we want to know, what is an orange academic standing color on your ADS is an indication that. Choose the option that best represents what is an orange academic standing color on your ADS. So once you have submitted your response, we are going to move and we'll be chatting to Elzmarie. We're going to start with you as we just want to make sure that we give William some time to get onto the platform. Okay. Thank you for those that have already indicated your preference on the chat. So Els, we know, as Ninette has said, that each faculty's registration process looks a little bit different. So what counts for humanities might not count for natural sciences. So walk us through the registration process for natural sciences, and talk to us a little bit around the online component and if there's a face-to-face component this year.
So much, Evodia, and once more, thank you for the opportunity. As you know, I think I'm pre-baby boomer, but we are talking about post-Gen Z students here. So to ensure that we also keep up with their demands, the Faculty of Natural Science for the past 3 years really tried to go with an online registration, although there is face-to-face support. Now, this year, I'm excited to say that the online registration process is working very well, because up to now, more than half of our returning seniors have already registered online.
Wow.
And I think that is a huge achievement. There is also already 200 first-time entries that have registered online. So I think that is a compliment for the students in natural science, that they are able to navigate their way in an online system, which I'm convinced they will do. So let me tell you what is then different. What is different is that the structures for the students are clearly packed on the system, and if a student logged in, he could see with one glance what modules have he passed already, which ones do we still need to do, which ones have he failed and he maybe need to repeat it. So that is quite user friendly. And then we are also this year in the faculty trying to be more quick with our responses to students. That's why we have promoted that they make use of a service request, where they could online launch a service request and we could track how that is answered and completed, and the student don't get stuck into 25 mailboxes because you have sent 25 people the same email and everyone else think everyone else will respond. So that is basically different. We have also got very limited students who are in the orange status. Most of them are either green and yellow, who can totally register themselves. And then there's a few that is orange, so that we also try to assist them quicker. And then obviously the red students are the students who need to appeal before they could go. I can also say that on Friday, we have dealt with all the people who have submitted appeals for the rounds up to now. So everyone who have submitted the appeal and that was excluded after Friday got their answer, which is a huge improvement on the experience of the past. There is, however, students that was only Friday excluded because we were waiting for the supplementary exam results to come in. So I think, I hope I've answered all the questions.
You have, Els. So explain to us how the rule book works. Ninette also spoke a bit about the rule books and that students must read. If I'm a new student or I'm in my first year or I'm in my second year, how do I start making sense of the rule book in natural sciences?
Okay, there is in the rule book 3 sets of rules. The one is the progression rule that clearly indicate what you need to continue to go on as a senior. That is called the NAS 4 rules. Then there are the readmission rules. That is if you were excluded or you have stopped your studies and you want to come back. And then there are the new procedure for the appeals. I will come back to that because we have adjusted our academic exclusion process a little to make it more easy for the students. But the only 2 things that a student need to register successful is your index finger so that you can type on your cell phone to do the thing, and the rule book. That's the only 2 things you need, because the rule book will tell you exactly what to type with your index finger. And then you can do it. So the NAS rulebook is very important. You find your curriculum there. You find the NAS rulebook on the website of Natural Sciences. You see what is your combinations. You see what is the new programs that you could possibly want to move to. And I want to just say something here in NAS. You cannot move without applying, because the readmission committee, according to the NAS Rule 7, have to check whether you can be readmitted. So you have to apply. You can't do it with a form. You have to apply. It's only for the extended students that we handle it a little different because they cannot apply. So that you will also find in the rule book the names of the modules, the credits of the modules, the content of the modules, the prerequisites of the modules, because in us we have got another monster that other faculties don't have, and that is the prerequisite monster. You need to do A before you can do B, before you can do C, before you can end up with D. So it is important to look at the prerequisites and make sure that you comply with the prerequisites to go on. If you don't pass zoology 2, you can't take zoology 3. If you don't pass maths first semester, you can't go on with maths. The prerequisites are there, but I think the most important, nicest thing of the rule book is that if you open the rule book, you could see all the lecturers' names, and you could see your program director's picture and his title, so that you don't call him Mr. if he's a prof, or you don't say prof if he's a Mr. So that's important. You can see and you can connect with your program director. We still have an option for booking a Google appointment with your program director. Sorry, let me just take a sip of water. You can also book, if you go to the NAS website, you can see the link where you can book an online appointment with your program director.
Els, so speaking about the rule book, you spoke a bit to us about progression. Is there any rule that has changed in the faculty that affects seniors that's very important for seniors to take note of at this moment?
Yeah, there's basically 3 rules that have changed. The one rule are the residential period rule, to be aligned with NSFAS and the allocation, how they observe residential period. They observe residential period as minimum period for your degree plus 1 year. So in natural science, it was always like all the other faculties, N+2, but it have changed to N+1, because it is tragic if a student go on and he don't have funding for the last year, because they are looking at N+1. So we have also adjusted the year to N+1, but we haven't thrown away NAS 4J that say, even if you are out of residential period, if you are only left with 4 modules, we will allow you back.
Okay.
So that is the first rule, and I think it's an important rule. The second important rule is actually the general rule related to supplementary exams, or what we call a supplementary exam based on only 1 module outstanding. That rule have changed. The students cannot qualify for more than 1 supplementary exam. In the sense, if you have failed and you got a reassessment, you can also not qualify for a supplementary exam based on 1 module outstanding. But what is to the advantages of the students, this is seen per semester. So you can get a supplementary exam first semester based on 1 module outstanding for the first semester, even if you haven't passed any second semester modules.
Okay.
And then when you are in the second semester, even if you have failed 1 first semester module, you can still get for the second semester a supplementary exam if there's only 1 second semester module outstanding. That is the second important rule that we need to know. And then the third important rule is that we are now having, like in rugby, a card system. You can get 3 yellow cards before you get a red card. So what does that mean? You can trespass 3 rules, certain rules, before you get an exclusion. Otherwise, you will just get a warning. So you must really done something terrible to be excluded for only 1 thing. Okay, so that is the 3 basic things that have changed.
So senior students, you've heard it. Residential period has changed. And remember the supplementary exams, how they work. And I think that's a special one that NAS has introduced. I think it does give students a chance to rectify and get through the system and to cross the stage at Kaliman if only that 1 module is outstanding. And last but not least, remember the yellow card system. So please make sure that you go learn about the rules so that you can be successful. I also spoke to us about the fact that students need to apply in order to change. I want you to talk to us a little bit about what are those implications. One, are students allowed to change and how are they allowed to change? But also, what are implications for changing? Because we know there's always a consequence to things.
Yeah. So let me tell you that if a student is in the biological field and they are doing maybe botany and zoology as their majors, at the end of the first year, they can change because all the first year biological science programs is exactly the same. So they come here, they plan to do botany and zoology. After their first year, they realized zoology is not for me. I thought it's about all kind of animals, big animals, elephants, lions. Now it's about cockroaches and bees and snakes and all of those things as well. And they want to change from zoology and botany maybe to botany and genetics. They can do it and it have absolutely no implication for them because the first year is the same. Now they take botany and they take entomology and they take genetics in their second year. And now at the end of the second year, they decide, oh no, botany and genetics is also not for me. I want to do botany and entomology. They can still do it because they've done all the second year modules as well. And it will have no implication for them to complete in the minimum time. Mm-hmm. If they, however, at the end of the second year now decide they don't want to do genetics or entomology, they want to do microbiology and botany, then they will have a prolonged and extended study period because they have to catch up on that second year. That is actually an easy change because they remain in the biological science. But let me say I started in computer science, data science. I did my first year. Now suddenly I want to change to biological science. I have to repeat half of the first year because I haven't done any biologies. So now automatically my my study period is extended with a year. So it automatically means I can't fail anything because
Sure.
I'm going to be an N+1.
Mhm.
So that is the implications. So if students want to change within a field, it's sometimes an option until the third year, or definitely until the second year. But if they want to change across fields, if they don't do it at the end of the first year, they will exceed the residential period and therefore have a possible impact of being excluded or losing funding.
That's very important to note. So, as Elzmarie said, you may change in your first year, but it's important that you understand how the changes will affect how long you stay at the university. And remember, do speak to your faculty, your program directors, a central advisor, your faculty advisor before you make any change. Else, I know we did not necessarily put this in here, but there has been a couple of questions around what the colors on the ADS mean. Can you repeat that again for us, for students that might have joined us a little bit late? What do those colors mean and how do they affect the students' registration in your faculty?
Now, let me start by saying we have got an extra color, and that is blue. And if you are blue, it means you have already reached the sky. You are most probably going to graduate. So if you think you are supposed to graduate and it's not indicated on your record and there's no indication of blue, immediately contact the faculty manager, because then someone have missed the fact that you have reached the sky already. So the other colors is green. That means you are absolutely a top student. You have never failed a module, never changed program, and it means you are well on your way. And if it's your third year of registration this year, you will hopefully graduate if you are still committed and you are doing what you are supposed to do. Then there are yellow. The yellows are either people who have failed a few modules that can still go on registering, or people who have changed program, who moved from biological science, microbiology, and biochemistry to biological science, genetics, and physiology. And then there are the orange students. We always have got a lot of our orange students. This year we've got a few. This is the students who can continue, but have certain hurdles that will prohibit them from continuing on their own. It's maybe a student who have failed the module twice, and that the appeal committee have decided they will give them another opportunity to do this module. The student will not be able to register himself for that module because there's a block, you can only take a module twice. So that's why the student is orange, so that the program director can put that module into his shopping cart so that he can take it again. That's also students who are maybe missing a prerequisite and who have got permission from this program director and me and the academic head of department to say, you know, he failed this module with 2%, but we think he know enough to go on with the second year module without having the first year module. Those students will be orange because they need assistance to register. That is also students that the appeal committee have approved who need a lot more assistance and monitoring, and that's why they are orange. And then unfortunately there are the red students, and there's two reasons why you can be red. The one is you have appeal and your appeal was denied, or you have appeal and you are waiting the outcome, or you haven't appealed and therefore there isn't an outcome yet on your name because the appeal process is going on. But like I said, everyone who was excluded and have already appealed, the results is known.
That makes sense. And Elzmarie, that brings us to the questions about appeals. We know for some of the students that are not able to register at the moment, your red students that are facing appeals, as you said, your faculty has already dealt with the first group of appeals and they received their outcomes on Friday. For those who are on the new list of appeals, they've just received the letters that they're academically excluded. Talk to us a little bit about the process. What should they do after they receive that letters, and what will the faculty do thereafter?
Okay, Evodia, what is important? There's quite a lot of students who were having an exclusion in the first round of appeal who haven't appealed.
Okay.
What the reason is, I don't know, but they've never submitted an appeal. So basically for that students, it's the end of the path because they haven't appealed, and the only way for them to come back is to reapply for admission in 2027 because in 2026, because remember, they are now excluded for 2025 and they need to have a year. But if you have received the letter and you have still got time to appeal, please appeal and make sure of the quality of your appeal. Don't say, on the 7th of February, I got migraine and that's why I failed my November exams. I mean, that doesn't make sense. Hopefully you didn't have a migraine from the 7th of February until the 30th of November, because then you would have been insane. So if you put down evidence, put evidence that makes sense in the context that happened. If you were sick for one test and you have submitted the sick certificate and you got a second attempt to the test, don't try to put the evidence of the first being sick as evidence for why you must not be excluded. You've got an opportunity for that. Yeah. So provide evidence that makes sense in the context. And if you can provide supporting documents, show that when you realized there was an issue, you went to Ninette, you go to Coffee Health, you went to all kind of support. Attach that, because that makes your application valid and legit, and let people take it up seriously. So what I always say to the student, do the self-test. If you were having a kid and you have asked him to clean his room, and he haven't done it, and you ask him and he said, 4 weeks ago, I have got a stomach ache. You know, you are not going, you can say, my friend, 4 weeks ago, that's long past. So provide evidence that will support your motivation, and be clear what you want. Don't just say, I appeal. Say, I appeal to be allowed again. I know I failed maths twice, but this is the reason. If I get a third opportunity, this is what I'm going to do to be successful. So submit your appeal with valid, clear reasons on time. And look at the quality of what you present. Sometimes people present appeals full of language errors, full of incomplete sentences, full of documentation that is totally irrelevant. Someone sometimes attaches mother's driver's license. So, you know, what do we want to do with your mother's driver's license in an appeal? So be relevant. Then the appeal committee is scheduled to meet. We will do our last exclusions Friday, because then the supplementary exams will all be in. So 5 days from then, so Friday the 27th, we will do that. Then 7 days, the first week in February, there would be another appeal committee, and then it would be the end of the appeal. I know that people can also appeal to the URRT, but hopefully the URRT will also be done in that first week of classes starting, so that all students whose appeals are successful can continue. I hope I've answered that.
You have. Before we wrap up the conversation, this part of the conversation with you, you've spoken about a student that has not appealed or submitted their appeal. Now, I want to ask, what advice would you give to a student that has already submitted their appeal, but they're unfortunately successful? What would you say to them are the options from here onwards?
Well, they're unsuccessful.
If they're unsuccessful.
Yeah. There is 2 options. The one option is to reappeal at the URRT, at the University Appeal Terminal, and ask for them. But they also need to be realistic. If they are going to exceed residential period, it's not most likely that the URRT will allow them, because you must remember that we already got the 6 months grace period, where we already allow them the grace. So then They can appeal with them, and they could get successful appeals from there. But before I say that, even if you are successful, there comes conditions to your appeal, and you have to stick to your conditions, because if you break your conditions, it's out. So even if the URRT give you conditions, you have to stick to that conditions. But let us say the URRT also denied your appeal. Now, then you are most likely not going to complete your degree at the University of the Free State. The reason for that is that you would have to reapply for admission, and the readmission rules of the faculty don't allow someone who have exceeded his residential period to come back. Your only other option is then to approach another institution having a similar degree and see how much of your modules can they give recognition for. But remember, it will not be more than half. So you would have to redo half of your degree. The bigger question, however, Evodia, is to ask yourself, why were I not successful? With all the softened rules that the faculty allow, why were I not successful? And first start working on that factor and resolve that factor totally. And then you can come back and say, my biggest struggle was finances. I struggled from year one. 6 months of every year, I was running around finding money. And then when I finally got the money, I was so exhausted, I couldn't do it. And then can say, I've worked for 4 years, I've secured now this funding. I will be able to pay for another year and complete my studies successfully. The biggest issue is to remember that across the university, but specifically in science, modules got a shelf life. So if you take too long, the modules have expired and you have to start all over again. So it's much better, precaution is better than cure. It's much better for the people sitting in this audience to start on day one, working hard. If they spot an issue, attend to it when they've got the first migraine on the 10th of February. Don't wait until the 29th of November to say, oh, I've got a migraine. It's too late.
Elzmarie, more than valuable information that you've shared with us. A huge thank you for this information. And please take note to what Elzmarie said, particularly around the appeals. Go reevaluate, how did I get myself here, and see how you can change. Remember, it's not the end of the road. Maybe it might be end of the road at Faculty of Natural Sciences, University of the Free State, but you could try your chances at another institution. But remember, let us evaluate how I got here and how I can make sure that I don't repeat these mistakes. Else, we'll be back with you in our Q&A segment.
Evodia, can I just make one last comment with my Mickey Mouse ears on? And that it's important that the students will keep their ears open and listen and look and use their senses to follow up in communication, to use their index finger and send an email and ask a question. And I want to say that I want to give them the formula E of Einstein. E is equal to mc squared. And the M stands for a motivated mind, and the C stands for communication, commitment, and collaboration. Thank you.
That is wise. I hope you heard that. Love that, Elzmarie. William, welcome. And we're looking forward to hearing from you. A quick introduction about who you are, and let's jump into the conversation around how is Faculty of Law doing registration this year and what should students take note of?
Thank you, Evodia. And Bonolo, I'm very sorry I didn't take your calls, and numerous times you tried to get me. It's just been one of those days. But thank you very much, colleagues, also for bearing with me and arriving a little bit late. Firstly, just to check that I'm clear and audible.
Yes, you are.
Visible as well?
Yes, you are.
Fantastic. So for those who don't know me, my name is William Awusi. I'm faculty manager at law. I work closely with my colleagues at law and my students to try and ensure that they They progress, they do well. It's, I think, one of the most difficult things anybody can ever do in this world is to speak after Elzmarie. She is absolutely fantastic in relaying that information to her students. She is so clear. She gives them exactly what they need. Thank you very much, Els, for making my life difficult, but I will try my best. So Faculty of Law this year, similar to all my other counterparts, are online. The registration is fully online. However, we are advising students in person, face-to-face from the 22nd of January, which is on Wednesday. So from Wednesday at EXR5, the faculty staff members will be in the venue. We've set up the venue in such a way that we can advise students and they can immediately jump on a computer. And as Al said, use your index finger to register yourself. So the process has already been almost finalized. I think where we might be a little bit behind as a faculty, and we beg the indulgence of our students, is our 2025 rulebook. We had a hiccup with finalizing it close to the end of last year, but we expect that it'll be loaded up online between today and tomorrow. So that is almost done. And we also had a hiccup in placing our colors this year, but that should also be finalized probably before I go to bed tonight. So we are almost done with those processes, but the colors are very similar to, as Elzmarie indicated. We just don't have blue. We don't tackle the blues at all. We have green for students who are sorted, who don't need any issues. They can go ahead and register themselves. Yellow for students who are not such an issue. They failed 1 or 2 modules, but it's not a problem. They are still within the rules of the university. Orange are students who we would rather speak to first before they register themselves, because we would like to give them advice and encourage them not to overload themselves. We've seen that happening too many times. A student thinks they can carry the load. It is more difficult than it is. They don't realize this. And unfortunately, the reality is that they find themselves in a place where they struggle. We don't want that for our students. So we try and advise them accordingly. And then the final category for us will be red. That will be students who unfortunately have been excluded. They have not met their progression rules and they've been excluded. They need to appeal before their registrations can then be activated once their appeals are successful.
William, thank you so much for pulling that information together for us. You spoke a little bit also about the rule book, that it's not ready, but as soon as it's ready, the students should consult it. Why is it such an important process that the students need to do? And talk to us a little bit about the importance of this rule book in your faculty.
So for me, it's more important because you guys are aspiring lawyers. You can't not know the rules of your own faculty and then purport to go and do or practice law later on. So start with the rules of your faculty. Know what is needed for your qualification. Know the steps you need to take. Know the areas you need to go to. Know whose door you need to knock on for assistance. But the rules are, from a religious perspective, the rules are your Bible in terms of your qualification. It tells you what can and can't happen. It tells you when you've transgressed, when you are at your worst point, when you are at your best point. But importantly, it also highlights where you can go and request help, and support. And I don't want students to take that for granted. It's very, very important through their academic journey that they ask for help when help is needed. But it's for that reason for me, or for rather for those reasons for me, that I want students to be conversant with the rules. At the Faculty of Law, we have rules dating back to, I think, 2012 on our webpage. So students can still consult the 2024 rulebook. The changes are quite minimal. Unsure about anything, the 2024 rulebook is on the website. They can still consult it. It's only a name change here, a module name change there that will probably be different. So they are welcome to still use the 2024 rulebook. It won't affect them too adversely. But like I said, between today and tomorrow, the 2025 book will be uploaded.
Perfect. Now, one of the things that is highlighted in the rulebook are rules around changing from one end to the other. So we know that in law, there's not a lot students can change to. What are important things that students need to think about before changing their qualification or changing programs or even changing modules in the Faculty of Law? And talk to us also about what are some of the implications.
So let's start with changing programs. Law is one of those programs that has very, very few similarities to other faculties. We have a few service modules that maybe Elzmarie's faculty offers us, humanities offers us, EMS offers us, and in such instances, students could get recognition for some of those modules. But for the most part, our modules are our own, and therefore you will find that a student coming from second year in another faculty will unfortunately be a first year in my faculty because we don't have similarities that allow them to get recognition enough to be. So that is definitely something a student must consider. Where will I find myself in the grand scheme of things? I've done 2 years in this faculty. There's only 1 year to go and I have a degree. Is it really worth it moving to law where I'm going to be a brand new spanking first year? Sure. They must absolutely think about those sorts of things. Regarding changing modules, our curriculum is also fairly set. It's only at electives at first year level for the mainstream, and electives at final year level for all programs, and then electives at the second year level for the extended program, and again for the extended electives at final year, where students have options. Outside of that, the curriculum is quite strict, it's quite set, and so students don't have too many difficulties. Where I do find students experience difficulties, though, is if students have a particularly bad year. So assuming in 2023, you were a first year, you were registered for 6 modules and you fail 3 of them, you'll find that 9 out of 10 students want to take those 3 modules together with their entire second year load. That is never advisable. You know, they think they will work harder. They want to try and catch up. They are concerned about NSFAS. They are concerned about their funding. The reality is, my experience has also taught me that 9 times out of 10, that student who overloads will end up failing even more modules and finding themselves further set back, as opposed to if they had listened to the curriculum advisor and they had registered for a reasonable load, which will allow them to pass all their modules. Remember, passing your modules has various effects. It has a positive effect on your mental state. Yeah. You know, it gives you a bit of a boost. It gives you a little bit of confidence. You find yourself in a place where you've become a success from a place where you thought you were a little bit of a failure. So for the most part, my suggestion to students is, if you are not sure, if it seems as if you need to take too many modules to catch up, please go and consult with a curriculum advisor and hear their advice. Whether you agree with their advice or not, the reality is that that advice comes from a good place. Yeah. It comes from a place where they want you to progress academically. It comes from a place where they want you to succeed. It comes from a place where they want you to tick your boxes and eventually walk out of the UFS with a degree. They don't want you to be set back. So I advise my students, please, if you are not sure, it's different if you've passed everything, you know where you are headed, you follow the rule book and you register according to the rule book, 100% I encourage that. But where you are not sure, please rather seek curriculum advice.
Talking about advice, William, what do your faculty advisors assist students with, and what are some of the benefits of consulting with the faculty advisors?
So we look at a student's program and we look at their progress. We look at how far they've progressed, what modules they've dropped. We look at the ideal load for a student who has progressed up to a certain level. And we also try and look at their time to completion. We try and keep a student within the time to completion. As Elzmarie mentioned earlier, students have an N, and the N changes from faculty to faculty. So my 4-year degree, for example, is 4 years, which means students can complete it in a minimum of 4 years. You can't complete it sooner. Then the extended degree is 5 years. Student can complete that one in a minimum of 5 years. Again, you cannot complete it sooner. Then you have a +2. The university gives you 2 additional grace years. So 4 years becomes 6 and 5 years becomes 7. And those are the things we keep in mind. We also look at a student's progression. So for a particular student, we might see that they are at risk of not progressing. And so we will register, or we will advise the student to register in a particular way. For example, ensuring that you start with lower level modules, ensuring that you don't try and do higher level modules before having passed certain lower level modules, because with the extended program especially, lower level modules contribute towards your progression or your transgression of the progression rules. So a student by a certain level must have passed all their first year modules. If they haven't, then they will be excluded. It's those sorts of things my advisors will look at, explain such to the students, and encourage them to register accordingly so that they are not transgressing any of the rules, but importantly, so that they follow a path that gives them a load that is manageable and allows them to still finish the degree. If a student has failed too many modules, we stop being concerned about finishing in the 4 years, and we start being concerned about the student finishing. That for us becomes the main priority. And students must understand that although they are chasing NSFAS funding and they are chasing their bursary funding and those sorts of things, our priority is we want you to graduate. And we are of the view, based on experience and many other factors, that if you overload in this way, you are at risk of not graduating. So the curriculum advisors will explain that to the student, and the student will then have a decision to make. In some instances, the curriculum advisors will not allow certain processes, and they will refer the student to myself as a faculty manager or to a senior advisor, who will then escalate if there's a need for a student to be escalated.
Thank you for that information. So faculty advisors essentially are irreplaceable. You're going to have to make sure that you meet up with one. Remember, these services are absolutely for free if you are a registered University of the Free State student. Seniors, whether you're coming back, first-year students, whether you're confused about the process, please make sure that you get in touch with a faculty advisor. William, your faculty is no different in the sense that there are students that are facing academic exclusion, and in that instance, they have to appeal. How does the appeal process work in your faculty, and what advice would you give to those that have been unsuccessful?
So yes, you are correct. Similar to Elzmarie's faculty, we have excluded some students who have transgressed the progression rules. There are certain students whose transgression is I don't want to use the word minor because the rule says you have transgressed, but when those particular appeals get to the appeals committee, the RAC, they will all be approved. I'll give an example. I have a certain rule in my extended program where students have to pass a particular module. Unfortunately, a student can pass every other module and fail a module called Law of Persons. Because they are in the extended program, they have transgressed that particular progression rule. So we are very strict on that. And we will exclude the students, sadly, for failing that one module. But the simple reality for that particular student is they just need to appeal. We will approve them and will allow them to carry on. We are not so heartless that we will let a student go just for one module. But for us, it's also a little bit of a wake-up call for our students, especially in the extended program, because we find that 9 students out of 10 extended students particularly take the program for granted. We don't want that. It's not an easier program. It just gives you a foundation to the mainstream where you will eventually join and you'll carry on with everybody else. And so in those instances, the student must be sure to appeal. One of the differences we have implemented this year is that excluded students have 5 days to appeal from the date of their letter being issued. We have been a little bit more lenient. We've given all our students up until the 25th of January to appeal. So our deadline to accept appeals is the 25th of January. If an appeal document comes through on the 26th, we will unfortunately discard it. We will not assist the student because firstly, the university gave you 5 days. We have given you a whole lot more than the 5 days. Mind you, these appeals letters were sent out late December. So it means you've had all of December and 25 days in January, and you still did not appeal. At some point, we have to have a cutoff. So that part is very, very important. At the Faculty of Law, we are accepting appeals up until the 25th of January. So if your appeal is successful, of course, an advisor will advise you and then help you to register. If your appeal is not successful, you do have the option to appeal to the URRT, who can and sometimes do overturn faculty decisions and allow you then to come back and carry on. As my previous colleague mentioned, there are certainly conditions. Those conditions will be put in place. You then don't have the luxury of choosing the modules you want anymore. We register you according to what we think will help you to progress and eventually graduate. So then finally, if the faculty excludes you, then you appeal to URRT, and URRT also says, no, we can't help you. We are very sorry. The journey is not over. you have several other options you can consider. Although your journey with the LLB may be over, you can still apply to other institutions, you can still apply to other faculties for their consideration. You can look at maybe something else that interests you. University is a wonderful stepping stone to a wonderful life. University is not the only stepping stone to a wonderful life. There's entrepreneurship, there is skills development. You can pick up skills that allow you to do certain things. But for me, I would want a student who's not successful in terms of appeals to look at what alternatives do I have? What can I do that still allows me to progress in this thing called life? And many people do well in this thing called life without the university process, although I encourage it. It's a wonderful thing. And while you are here, make the best of it. And if you don't make the best of it, though, the journey is not over. Look at other alternatives that can still allow you to progress, earn an income, support yourself, support your family.
Thank you so much for that. And I really want to encourage students, as you hear, it's not the end of the journey. There are other alternatives, so don't be discouraged. I know it's not nice. I did share with the students that I too had to appeal as a postgraduate student, and I know it's a process where you feel, let me give up before I even start. But I really want to encourage you, don't give up, write that appeal letter. Make sure that it is as proper. You gather the evidence and you submit. As you heard, Faculty of Law, the cutoff date is 25th of January. Grab this opportunity with both hands and see where it takes you. So I see there's a couple of questions that have come in. And before that, we're going to quickly jump to our last poll. The difference between CTL academic advising and faculty advisors. Option A, a CTL advisor offers general academic advising, which means the time management, study tips, and faculty advisors does your curriculum. So they look at your registration holds, your module selection, and your course changes. Option B, CTL advisors offer curriculum advice, and faculty advisors do general academic advice, or none of the above. Choose the option that you think is good, and you can exit the poll. There's a question that has come up quite frequently around some of the students not being able to complete their registration. It says wrong academic level. Is this an error that you've come across in your faculty? And what should students do if they see this error on the system while trying to register?
Yes, so the online registration process unfortunately comes with certain glitches. Within my faculty, we have identified some problems. Senior students may have noticed that they are unable, for example, to register for some modules. Your research report is one of them. Your integrated assessments module, your LIAS is another one. Your electronic and internet law is another, international economic law is another one that we found as problematic. Law is another one. I've got a long list, so I would like to just allay their fears and let them know that the faculty is aware of these issues. We have referred them to the systems office. We had a session with the systems office last week, Friday, where we went through the entire process and we did a whole lot of testing, trial and error, pressing buttons, changing this and that. And for some students, the issue has been sorted, but not for all. So myself and the systems office have another engagement this evening after hours, just for our students to know how committed we are to their success. While you guys are resting and sleeping and enjoying, some of us will be up with the systems office, pressing buttons and trying to fix the issues. So our recommendation to students is please register for modules that you can at the moment. Please be patient because we are anticipating that by today, tomorrow at the latest, we want to have all the issues resolved. We don't want to put a promise to that because not everything is within our control, but we are aware of the issues and we encourage them to just register for what they can at the moment. And then you can add the remaining modules later once we fix the issues.
Thank you very much for that. So you did hear that the errors are being attended to by your faculty as well as the staff that work with the registration system. As we said, the one thing about technology, we love it. It creates efficiencies, but it also comes with a few glitches. So be patient and be rest assured that your faculty will tackle some of these changes. I'm just going through some of the questions that you have put in the chats. In the meantime, I want to encourage you, if you have a question, very similar to Madume, please raise your hand. Our technical team will unmute your microphone, and once you have been noted, you can go ahead to ask. I know that there is another question that has come up. If the team can also help me. I know Uratila also indicated that she's trying to register for a postgrad on the system, and the system is still identifying her as a undergraduate student, and that she did not complete. We do know that some qualifications have not been awarded at this stage, and what do students in those instances do? William or Elzmarie, either one of you can take the question. And Ninette, if you want to tackle it as well, please be my guest.
Maybe I can quickly come in. If it's a law student, I would encourage the students to get in touch with Ms. Leroux. She will be able to assist you. It's important to note that you first need to be accepted for the program. So you may have applied, but the question is, have you been accepted? Once you are accepted, you then need to also be matriculated for the program. In other words, they need to activate you in such a way that you can then register. If either of those two are not in place, you won't be able to register yourself. And those could be some of the challenges that the person who asked the question is facing. But I will put Ms. Leroux's email address in the chat box. If this is a law candidate, please don't email Ms. Leroux if you belong to another faculty, because she cannot help you. She only deals with the law students. Elzmarie?
Thank you, William. Yes, it is important to realize that for just like first-time entries coming into undergraduate programs, postgraduate students also need to get an offer, and they need to accept the offer, because it's only after they accept the offer that the matriculation, the term activation, the allocation of an academic structure will happen automatically. So it is important for them to first check, and like William have indicated for law, for all the other faculties, if you are from another faculty, in all the other faculties except law, you have to send it to the faculty manager who work with the allocation and the awarding of the degrees. And you can check if you have an offer and you accept the offer, your status will change to Dane, then it will change to matriculate, MATR, then you will be term activated, and then you will be able to see your academic structure. And only then you can register after you have paid. But Evodia, I think there's something else that is very important. Even if you haven't paid, but you were matriculated, your term is activated, you've got a tree or an academic structure, then you can attempt your modules. You can choose that. And the moment when your finances is released, you will be registered. So don't wait until your finances is resolved. If you've got all the other things, go and choose your modules.
Thank you so much, Elzmarie, and thank you so much, William, for tackling that question. It's very important for students to make sure that you accept those offers. If you are a first-year student and you're joining our webinar today, also remember, you will get an offer that you have to accept. And I want to quickly slide in a question here. Madume, we will be with you in a second. Quickly want to slide in a question here. What happens if the offer expires?
With NAS...
Yeah, go ahead, El. Sorry.
Okay. With NAS, we withdraw the offers after a certain time, because if you don't accept the offer, we are saying, do you really want to come to us?
Okay.
I mean, we have given you an offer. Now you don't take up the offer, must be forever sit and wait until you decide to come. Now we withdraw the offer. If you then come back and say, oh, I've made a mistake, or oh, I forgot, or you come at the bottom of a waiting list. Because we've got a waiting list. So you just then go back to the bottom of the waiting list. And if you are lucky to get to the top again and there's still space, then you will get an offer, or you will not get another offer. But we are not only expiring offers. If people don't respond, we withdraw the offers. And what is very important, specifically there's first years in this audience, of that we have got specific dates for first years to register. And if you go past that date and you haven't registered, we will also withdraw the offer.
Mm-hmm. Very important to notice that. Thank you so much, Elzmarie. William?
Thank you. Yes, similar to Elzmarie, the same. Offers are generally active for about 3 days. After 3 days, we also withdraw the offers. It's very important, as Elzmarie said, to point out to our previous matriculants that as a university, we receive thousands of applications. I'll give you an example. The Faculty of Law received close to 30,000 applications last year from students who wish to be registered with us. We have 500 spaces, only 500. And you don't need to be a PhD holder to know that you cannot fit 30,000 into 500. Yeah. So we have to go through a cycle. We start with the top achievers. We send them offers. The offers are valid for 3 days. The top achievers don't accept. We move on to the next group in our list, and we keep cycling through from the top achievers through to the low 40s, high 30s, mid 30s, until we get to wherever we get to, or we are satisfied that we've made enough offers. Similar to Elzmarie, if you don't accept an offer and it expires, you come to the faculty. Elzmarie is even more lenient than for the Faculty of Law. We unfortunately tell you that, sorry, we cannot help you. We rather cycle through our candidates because of how many they are. We want to give everybody a fair shot. You've had your 3 days as a top achiever. Give somebody else their 3 days, and that's where it ends for the Faculty of Law.
Thank you so much for that. Matume, I want to give you an opportunity. Your mic has been enabled. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Greeting, ma'am, and everyone. So my question is related to, can you hear me?
You are loud and
Okay,
clear.
thank you. I wanted to get in. Good evening. My question is related to, in terms of academic exclusion. So I had touched up on it. So I want to know, in a situation whereby a student appealed, let's say student is in Faculty of Education, and I failed a measure twice, and then I got excluded. Then I come back on my 3rd year, and I get accepted through appeal. So now you then reach a moment whereby you feel like, okay, I want to change this measure. Is it possible that the student can go through that route? Or if the appeal committees already indicated that you can only be able to register that particular module, that's the only exception that they give you. So is it working? Is it possible that they can change that, or it only goes according to what the appeal committee have said? I don't know if my question was clear, ma'am.
I think it's clear. Just to make sure I get it, if what you are asking is what the conditions that the appeal committee has set for you, are you able to change that? That's the summary of your question.
Yes.
All right. Elzmarie, I saw your hand go.
Thank you, Evodia. I think it's important to realize that a major in an education student's life is mainly from another faculty, because they major in chemistry or physics or accounting or business studies or whatsoever. So I think the question, I've got 2 parts. The first part is, in the Faculty of Natural Science, if the appeal committee say you have to do A, B, and C, and you now suddenly have to do D, you have to ask them again. Because as a committee, they've decided you can only do A, B, C. Now you cannot just start doing D, because that was not what your permission was granted for. Mm-hmm. And remember, you are already on thin ice. So you've got a very specific condition. But if you are an education student and you have failed chemistry twice, and you want now to go on with another module, and it's another natural science module, it's very rare that we will allow you to do that. You having a 3rd opportunity is already to the grace of, a lot of grace into your side. So in the Faculty of Natural Science, we wouldn't allow that.
Thanks for that, Elzmarie. I hope it's clear, Matume. As Elzmarie highlighted, you're going to have to return back to the committee to request for permission, but chances are you're going to have to stick with the choices that they have provided. William, is there anything you'd like to add there, or can we move on to the next question?
I think we are good to move on to the next question. Elzmarie covered everything.
All right. So there's a question that is highlighted. I would like to ask, what does REQ mean on the ADS after a student has been denied?
What is the letters R? REQ.
Yes, REQ.
I only know RECN. REQ, I will find out and come back to you.
All right, so you've heard that. William, is there something familiar from your faculty?
The closest I also have is the RECN, the reconsider. Sorry.
Okay, so Mr. Ntozake, can you please just check whether you have the correct acronym there? And please retype it if you can. I know there's also been questions regarding funding. We will have a funding webinar. We have a funding webinar lined up. We'll have the postgraduate funding colleagues also here to speak to you about how that works. And we also will have students in the finances. But remember, so one of the students did ask about registration. Yes, you have to pay registration every single year. So just because you paid it in the first year does not mean you don't have to pay it. Every year, there's a registration fee that's applicable, and you're going to have to pay that registration fee in order to complete your registration in the end of the year. Colleagues, is there a question that I've missed or a hand that I've missed? There's Emily. Emily, we will enable your microphone in a second. There you go. You may go ahead and ask your question. Emily, remember to unmute your microphone.
Okay.
You are audible.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you. What's your question?
Okay, I'm a PhD student. I just want to ask you about our registration. So since I joined this webinar, but there's nothing about business school. So we used to register in January also, but I did not receive any notification yet. So how maybe far are they, the business school at Bloemfontein?
Emily, what I'll do is I can ask my colleagues who are part of the technical team just to get contact details for the business school that we can put there for you. And because they work as a separate entity, we're mostly dealing with the undergraduate as well as the honors and masters questions today. But please, I'll ask our colleagues to quickly check for communication and we can put it on the chat for you. Will that be okay?
Thank you so much.
Evodia, can I just ask, is it a first-time PhD student or a continued student?
Emily, did you hear that?
It's a continued.
Okay, then if you are...
apparently it's a fourth year. I supposed to be finished last year, but hopefully this year.
Yeah, but if you are a part-time student, you still have got this year. You can just check because postgraduate students are allowed to register. Have you tried to log in and register yourself?
Okay.
Yeah. Can I ask, have you tried to log in?
No, I didn't, because I used to receive the notification from our faculty from the business school. But since we are in the 20th today, I did not receive any notification. That's why I decided to join this webinar.
Okay, but I think you can try and log in and see, according to me, you will be able to register. Evodia, can I answer the question on REQ?
Yes, please, Elzmarie, go ahead.
REQ is an action reason. The student have been denied. So his status is denied, and REQ means he didn't meet the requirements for the program. So it's an action reason on a status of deny.
Thank you for that, Elzmarie. So there you have it. Means the student has been denied. You did not meet the necessary requirements. The great Mohau, your microphone has been enabled. Please remember to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Ms. Ivolia, and good afternoon to everybody else. My name is Mohau. Okay, so I'm a transferring student. I was studying at Northwest University, and last year I was doing my third year, doing a Bachelor of Science with Physics and Computer Science. And then due to funding, I was forced to change institutions, and then I applied to the University of Free State after receiving another bursary. So I got accepted for Bachelor of Science in Information Technology with a specialization in computer science. But then I had applied for Bachelor of Information Technology, specializing with computer science and business management. But the issue is that my APS is 31 and they require 32. So I was actually taken to the extended program at the South Campus. And then I was also told that I cannot be credited since the South Campus, it's an extended program. I can only be credited, I think, from next year when I go to the main campus, when I'll be majoring with computer science and business management. So I just wanted to figure out if maybe when I go to the main campus, when I get credited, will I be doing I'll be doing my first year at the South Campus, but then next year, will I be doing the whole year, like modules for first year for computer science and business management, or will I be going to second year and then completing my degree probably in 3 years in 2027, or I'll have to do 4 years?
All right.
Evodia, I can easily answer that question. So you need to contact the program director for computer science extended. It's Mr. Peter Botma, with your study record of what you have passed, because you can only join the extended program due to the fact that your AP score is not high enough, but you can join the extended program in the second year if we are giving recognition for more than half of the modules that you have done on the Northwest University. So I will put in the chat box his email address, and then you can send him an email with your study record so that he can navigate how to place you appropriately.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Elzmarie, for that. William, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, please. Thank you for the opportunity, Vodia. This is a very important question also in the context of law, because we take a different approach. In the context of law, a student who applies to the Faculty of Law and who does not indicate in their application that they were previously registered at another institution, once we accept such a student, we will not entertain any requests for recognitions or credits. It's important to the Faculty of Law, because we are producing litigators, we are producing upstanding citizens, that you be honest with us from day one. If you are coming from a different institution, it does not increase or decrease your chances of selection. We apply a fair selection process to all applicants, and we give as many top achievers a chance as possible. But it's important to us that you indicate in the application, because then we factor such into our equation. If you don't tell us you are coming from a different institution, you are a first year to us, modules you've done before, you unfortunately have to do them again, and you unfortunately only get a rude awakening once you reach campus and you come with such expectations. But when it's on your record that you are at a different institution, we know what you may request from us, and we prepare for you. Then in such instances, we assess the qualification you are doing at the previous institution. Our module experts look at the modules you passed and compare them to our modules, as long as they are on the same NQF level and the content similarity is at least 50%, or they could be on a higher NQF level, as long as the content similarity is also 50%, then we will give you recognition for those modules and we can register you for a higher level. But I have to stress that if you did not indicate it in your application, we unfortunately do not then entertain requests for recognition.
Thank you very much, William. So you guys heard it. For Faculty of Law, there are different rules that apply for recognitions. So make sure that once again you consult the faculty, particularly faculty advisors or the faculty manager, or particularly your program director in the Faculty of Natural and Cultural Sciences. For the remaining faculties, education, EMS, please make sure that you speak to your faculty advisors. Alternatively, our central advising team is here and they will direct you in the right direction in terms of who to speak to and when to speak to them. We still have chance to take 2 more questions. How do I pronounce your name? I mean, if I mispronounce it, please correct me. The team will enable your microphone. As soon as it's done, please remember to unmute and ask your question. You may ask your question. Remember to unmute your microphone. I mean, Sivanda. Okay, while we're waiting for you to unmute, we're going to move to Lebogang. Lebogang, you can ask your question by unmuting your microphone. I see Lebogang is also experiencing a few challenges. To the team, can we please unmute Bongani, and then we'll go back to the rest of the audience members. Bongani, your microphone has been enabled. Remember to unmute your mic.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I wanted to ask regarding the online registration. On step 10, the academic level is like wrong. So I wanted to ask like who do I contact to like fix that?
In which faculty are you, Bongani?
EMS.
Faculty of Law?
EMS faculty.
EMS faculty. In the EMS faculty, it's very important to contact your faculty, but I'll ask Mr. William to quickly take that question for us.
Yes, Bongani. So we are aware that the online registration system is giving a couple of glitches, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. Second year students are being identified as third year or something to that effect, and you may be experiencing something like that. Absolutely, please get in touch with your faculty advisors. On your faculty's website, generally they put some of these details up, or through your Blackboard communications, they give you some sort of information that directs you to who you can talk to when you're experiencing challenges. But please get in touch with your faculty. They will correct your glitch and you'll be able to proceed. Unfortunately, I have to add, because this is happening in my faculty as well, certain of these issues, we have to manually go onto Bongani's profile and fix it for Bongani before we can move on to Yvette, before we can move on to Evodia, before we can move on to Ninette. We don't have a group way of fixing some problems. So please raise it with your faculty as soon as you possibly can, and then they'll be able to fix it for you. I'll give you an example. My team is currently going through 700 students who have been incorrectly identified or in the same issue that you are experiencing, Bongani, and we are having sleepless nights trying to rectify that. So I would also ask all students who are affected by all sorts of issues, and now I'm speaking on behalf of the entire university, please exercise a bit of patience with us while we try and clear some of these issues. Some we can fix with pressing one button, but some require that we have to go through several processes before we can fix them. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Elzmarie, would you like to add?
Yes, I just want to add and tell people that sometimes you raise a problem, it fixed the problem for 400 other students. So please, if you experience a problem, raise it immediately. Give us all the detail, your student number, your program, a screenshot of what you see, because then it's so much quicker and easier to resolve.
Very, very important. Remember that screenshot, take a screenshot, send it to the faculty. I'll also at the end highlight our WhatsApp number, or one of the team members. You can put the WhatsApp number also on the chat so that you can talk to a success coach who can also refer you back to the faculties. Lebogang, would you like to highlight, quickly unmute your microphone while we try to get Lebogang? There we go. Lebogang?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon, Lebogang. You're just a little bit soft. I'm going to ask that you just increase your volume for me.
Ma'am.
Lebogang, we can hear you.
Yes, ma'am. I have a problem registering for my course.
What's
So,
your course, Lebogang?
what's this? Bachelor of Science, specializing in geography.
What problem are you experiencing? What can you see?
I can't get to the web. I don't know what's wrong. Every time I try to register, it's not showing anything.
Lebogang, you are unclear. Your line is breaking. I'm going to ask that you send a screenshot to Ms. Elzmarie because she is also in natural sciences so that we can tackle your issue. Her email address is right there on the chat. Please send a screenshot of what you can see so that we can see how we can sort your issue out as soon as possible.
Vaudia, if he cannot see anything, he can just send his student number and his program, and then I will resolve it.
There you go. Lebogang, as you heard, send your student number, the program that you're registering for, and they will assist. There's quite a number of queries around financial holds. Else and to all our team, Ninette, thank you so much also for putting the financial aid things there. If a student still has not sorted out their finances, is there a way that they can still communicate with the faculty? What should they do while they're waiting for NSFAS or while they're waiting for their finances to get sorted?
Evodia, it's easy. If they were matriculated and they were term activated and they have got an academic structure, they can just go in from their tile to register and they will be able to choose all their modules. They will not be able to register for it. They will choose for it and it will lay in their basket until their finances is resolved. But the nice thing is we as in the faculty will see that they are on their way to register. They've got a financial hold. And then if we get to the day that classes need to start and their financial hold is not resolved, we can start making arrangements with them for maybe attending class, so that they don't fall behind until this is resolved. So it is important for them to log in and choose their modules. They will just not be able to finally submit it. It will tell them they've got a hold. And then we can resolve it.
There you've heard it. Please do not wait till your finances are sorted. Get online, pick your modules, speak to an academic advisor if you're one of those students that need to speak to an advisor first. And remember, if you're unsure, the central advising team, the faculty advising team is ready to assist you. So don't sit back. I've seen a couple of questions on some random Facebook pages. Remember, sometimes I'm advising my cousin, and remember, Vodia registered her first year in 2007, everybody. A lot of things have changed since then. So sometimes our cousins and our nephews and our aunties they give us according to their experience. But it's very important that you speak to someone at the university, in your faculty, or a central academic advisor if you need the correct information. I see our time is almost up. Did we have another hand? I don't see the hand anymore. I mean, please try and unmute your microphone. Just give us a second so that we activate your mic. There we go. Please try and unmute and ask your question.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
You are clear. What is your question?
Thank you. Thank you so much. So last year I was able to register provisionally with 2023 or with outstanding debt. And I made my way to the finance office and they sort of took me off a list because I was able to sign the provisional application form in time. And then I had to run to Ms. Oosthuizen's office and she managed to register me before 12 o'clock because apparently after 12 o'clock a system overrides and then your student number gets on a wrong list and then you're unable to register. This year, with things being online, and unfortunately I can't be on the Bloemfontein campus in time. is there a way that I can settle the provisional registration fee and then continue with the registration process itself without filling in the provisional application form? And my second question on the provisional application form, there's a date that they gave you that you need to settle all debt and fees before the 30th of June of the current year. Provided that I'm returning for my master's and I only have 1 year module to complete with no outstanding debt, would they change that date for me to settle my tuition by the end of the year instead of 30 June 2025? Thanks.
Thank you so much for those two questions. I know the finance colleagues are not here, but I'm going to ask if our faculty colleagues or Ninette, if any of you are able to answer this question.
I will be able to answer the question. Like I've said to everyone else, you can attempt and put your modules in the basket without having the finance resolved. So my suggestion is go and put that master's module in your basket. You will not be able to register for it, but as soon as you can then communicate with the finance section, you can complete the provisional registration form. If they lift that hold for you, your registration will go through and then you will be registered. However, you and finances are the only ones who can discuss the deadline of 30th of June, because that is nothing to do with the faculty.
There you have it. I hope that answers your question. And remember, I saw a question around residences. With the residence, if you're first year, you must get an offer first for residence, and you must accept the offer, and then you can pay. So very, very important that you do that. Ladies and gents, time does run out very quickly when you are having fun. We have come to the last component of the webinar. And I want to remind those of you around NBT that please go look at that service indicator on your ADS about NBT. If you did complete academic literacy module, those EAL, N for natural sciences, H for humanities and nursing, LL for law. Remember, if you've already completed the module, you've registered for it and you've passed it, ignore that service indicator. But if you've never registered for the module and the indicator is there, or you've previously failed it, please remember that you have to register for the academic literacy modules. It's no longer EAL with the specific faculty, it's now CAL, C-A-L, with the letter that best represents your faculty. Remember, you have to register. We don't want you, the day you have to secure the grad, then you find out, I've got this one module outstanding. Very important that you take note of that. One last question that I know I saw is around the password. If you can't get to your password, please remember you can contact the IT services. They would be able to help you with your password. Otherwise, you will not be able to register online. And we'd like to hear from you whether today's webinar was a hit or a miss. And how you can do that is by completing the form, the feedback form. Bonolo has just posted it on the chat. It will take less than 2 minutes to hear how we can best improve our webinar and what else you'd like to find out about registration. We at least still have 2 weeks left before registration is concluded, and we can still attempt to help you. Remember, you can also contact 051-401-2000 if you have issues around your username and your password. Don't get stuck. We want to make sure that you're registered by 7 February. So if you're still struggling, we want to also ask that we've completed the feedback form. If you missed anything, the session is being recorded. We will put it up on the Secure the Grad YouTube channel. For those of you who are registered, you can also find it on Blackboard by looking for Secure the Grad. You can also follow us on Instagram, where all these details on how you can get access to our recording will be uploaded. I also want to encourage you, get in contact with our success coaches or the faculties on gps@ufs.ac.za. Remember, you can also call us via telephone 051 401 9111, and you can press option 2 for GPS. For academic advising on your respective campuses, please contact them via email, and that is advising@ufs.ac.za for the Bloemfontein students, advising QQ@ufs.ac.za, South Campus students, advising SC@ufs.ac.za. And remember, you can WhatsApp us on 087 2406370. I'll repeat the WhatsApp line, 087 2406370, because we know airtime is a bit pricey. And you can also get a hold of advising colleagues on their Facebook page. It's not yet time for tutoring, but I know some of you might want to find out, am I successful as a tutor or not? You're more than welcome to email us on astep@ufs.ac.za. Now, remember, we promised that there's going to be a winner for today. For those who've been participating in the chat, and our winners of our Kofsidine meal vouchers are Tenjiwe Mwase, Lebogang Grond, Unati Makaula, Ratile Rakumakwe, and Ntatua Guje. Congratulations to you for winning our meal vouchers for today. And if you are a winner, you will have to email us your details, name, surname, your student number, as well as your contact details on securethegrad@ufs.ac.za. Kamohelo, I'm sorry. You're going to have to join our next webinar on funding to make sure that you hear what is happening. So remember, on the 7th of February, we are talking funding as well as accommodation. And remember to join us. There's our calendar for all the webinars that are upcoming. On the 20th, we are talking to you about how you can be supported academically, and we'll have the respective support services here. And for those of you who are graduating this year, see us at our graduation activation booth on the 4th and the 12th of April on your respective campuses. We'll also be there. The rest of the webinars will be posted on our social medias. So we want to say thank you to Elzmarie, William, and Ninette for giving us all the information that we needed today. You guys were awesome as speakers. Thank you so much for the valuable information. We're looking forward to having you back on this platform. To our audience, you were amazing as always. Thank you for all the questions, and make sure that you share the links for those who could not join us. And to the technical team, a huge thank you. Once again, we want to invite you to our webinar on the 7th of February, where we're going to talk about finances if you've not settled yet, as well as accommodation, on how you can find accommodation outside of the university. With that being said, it's a goodbye from me and the team. See you in the next webinar.